Hello and welcome to Model Railroad Designs and welcome to this layout design video. Today we have a fun one for you. It's a layout design for this 18 by 13 foot attic. We're looking at HO scale, and as you see in the images right now, the client already has a layout, a half-built layout, but more on that later. Now the region is Southwest Virginia, West Virginia, and he wants to be able to run multiple trains at the same time. A double track mainline would definitely be on the list. It's set in modern and day. So here is the room. This is a sketch. The dimensions in the bottom will change a bit as they were updated later on. But these are the initial thought, initial idea that I had, is we want to make the best use of the longest length that we have. So that would be the length here on the right, the complete length on the left, the complete length, and then in the peninsula, almost the complete length again, twice. Now note this is different than as the client has it now, because he has this island right here, and then some bench work down below, and you walk in the room like this. Also a great setup. Now also crossed my mind, down below, here we have this AC unit, or is it there? A staircase, again, this dimension will change as you'll see. There's a staircase here. And I thought, isn't that the holy grail? If you can just walk up into your layout, because then you don't need a lift gate or anything like that. You see it often with basements where the staircase is in the middle of the house and you have to descend down in the train room. But here it's basically the same thing. So if we can somehow get this train to loop around the staircase, and albeit here over the staircase for a little bit, then we don't need a lift gate at all, and that would be a great use of space. So that is basically the second variant that we discovered quite early on. Now this will be a two-part video series where in this first part we're going to go into the design as it stands right now, and in the second part we'll dive a little bit more into why he changed his layout and how we came to this overall new shape and design and what are the pros and cons there. So given the requirement to run long trains continuous, it would be nice to traverse the peninsula and to make basically U-turn and to come back off. So then you would have this extra run here on the peninsula. To make that possible, we do need to pinch this section here on the right. But that actually works out quite well, as you see in a bit. Because we also started to think about... So my initial thought with staging is we have this long section, which is now narrow as well. Why don't we use that to start to descend down to staging? Because we do need quite a length to get some height clearance between the two decks. So let me just add an arrow here. So this design, you would start the descent here in the bottom at 1.75% grade, go all the way down, and then you would have a stub end staging here underneath this long stretch. What we decided, or what we could add, let's say as an option, is to have this Y here to basically turn the trains around to then go back up to the scenic portion of the layout. That would mean that the grade, I think, stops somewhere around here. So this turnout is on the grade, and then you would flatten out very gently. Now, if you like staging, or if you don't like staging, please do like this video. Thank you very much. Second option would be to have through staging. Through staging is, of course, more ideal. And it would be the same. You would leave somewhere to start the grade, somewhere around here, and then come back down, and then here we would have to start the staging part, and then the staging tracks would be here on the peninsula itself. Now let's see how many kind of radius we have here. This is already 28. So then we go to 25, 22, and then the last one is 19-inch radius. So it's getting tight, and we're not going to be able to have a lot of tracks there. As well, the clearance of 4 inches or 4 1/3 inch is not enough really to make this a very practical setup, I think. Yes, you can park trains, but if you really need to clean it or assemble or disassemble a train that's somewhere in this stack of tracks, then it's going to be a bit tricky. So then we came up with this variant where we basically start the grade at the same place, go all the way down, and then we loop around the entire peninsula, still down a grade, until around about here-ish. And then you have your stub end staging. So then we're at minus 12 inches. So we have about, well, take some plywood off and all that. Let's say 11 inches of clearance right here. a turnout here, and then we have a return loop on the bottom. It's all flat, not on a grade. So what allows that allows you to do, is enter the staging, and then when you need that train again for the next operating session, or you just feel like running along, I don't know, intermodal train or something, is you can reverse that train over the loop, just like that, to this turnout, and then up you go to the scenic portion of the layout. So this is not a loop that you can just really run through to turn a train around and then it can go straight up the staging. No, you need to manually do that and turn around. You could, from here, create another turnout and then a second loop that sits on top of this existing loop to then just send the train down the staging. It would make the loop and then come back up all by itself. It's all possible. Everything's possible, but it's adding to the complexity of the build, and there is very little clearance between these two loops. The client liked this idea. It's simple yet very effective, so we chose on this initial variant. Now we do need to see a little bit how do we get to staging, and I'll leave that detailed discussion for part 2 of this video. Again, it's out now for members, and it will be out for non-members in the future at some point. Let's look at some other design choices made. Just zoom in a bit. Obviously, the yard on the left is still empty, so let's not focus on that. Let's focus on the double track mainline. So coming here in from the right, the double track mainline for the outer loop is very simple. It just makes a loop, goes into this tunnel, comes out straight, and then goes to the yard. Now, it looks as if both double track main lines go into this tunnel, which is a very nice, clean look. And it looks as if they both come out here as well. But in reality, the inner loop does something completely different. So if I just remove this tunnel, the inner loop coming from the yard here, let's follow it, goes up here, goes into the tunnel, crosses itself with just a grade crossing, no elevation needed, then goes onto the peninsula. There's an entire loop over the peninsula, or trip, I should say, adding to the maximum running length. Crosses itself again, and then joins here the double track main line to finish that. Now, there's different reasons why I chose this, and in the second video, I'm actually going to go into depth on this particular decision. So the key to, and some of the decisions made for this, is to be able to have a believable scene. So if we put that mountain back, something like that, this is just not the final design. The believable scene is that we have the double track main line go straight into a tunnel, and it continues, and it comes out again. The double track main line comes out. Here we have this track, we haven't discussed it, but it bends off, missing the mountain as the other track goes straight through it. Here we miss the mountain. This one comes out of the mountain, and they join up later on. And the one here also dives into a tunnel. So these two scenes on the right and left are inherently different, and yet still believable. So what is the purpose of this track right here, I hear you say? Well, that is a fun one, this track. Let me just highlight it. Let's go to the schematic. So this is the schematic. Let's just go over it. It's not that complicated. The stairs are more or less here on the right. So we have the double track main line in black right there. We have the staging track that goes here, that goes down. The summit, what I talked about, is somewhere roughly around here. And then here, the double track main line splits. So we have this one that goes onto the peninsula, as you saw, up, and then goes off. And then the other one just goes straight back. So this is a very long piece of track in this diagram, but this is actually a really short piece of track in real life. And this green track, the one that we're talking about, just to be clear, that's the one that goes here, skips the hill over the bridge, and they join right there. That is this green piece of track right here. And that actually creates a return loop right there. So with this, we can loop, turn the train around, and then in this case, go back to the yard, and then go back into staging. Because we have these very long trains coming out of staging, but we don't want to back them all the way back into staging. That's not very realistic. So just to be clear, this layout is set up to do more prototypical operations, but sometimes you just want to run a long train, let's say the intermodals, run them out of the staging, run them through the layout, and then get them back into staging. And yeah, for that, we're going to want to have this return loop. So here is the final design, and let's just go through it. We already discussed a lot, so it should go relatively fast. Let's start here at the yard and going down into staging. So yeah, the yard obviously here. This what this little yellow engine is the yard lead, and it just joined back with the main line. So we have the two mainline tracks and then down staging. Note that this track does connect straight to the yard ladder. So if you're departing from the yard, you probably want to take this yard lead and then join with the main line. Otherwise, coming in from the north, you could skip the yard lead and then take this crossover here and then go to the arrival departure track. There's another crossover right here. So coming from the yard, we take this crossover here, take the second crossover, and then you can go down staging and vice versa. Coming up from staging, take this crossover, and then you're on the right-handed traffic in that direction. I thought it was really important to have this, this bridge here because it closes a bit of the scene. When you're here and you look in this direction, you don't immediately see, hopefully, or your eye is not focused, drawn to the AC and whatever's happening here with the shelf, but it's just hopefully keeps contained within this scene, the bridge and everything that is in front of it. Now, zooming in a bit to the yard, we have the main line, eastbound, westbound, arrival departure, 1, 2, 3, 4 yard tracks. Then we have here a track that could be overflow for the yard. You can use it for maintenance away equipment or to store extra engines. It's also the switch back to this small engine facility right here. And then going to the other side and also a little bit the backdrop. The backdrop is more rural, here on the left, and then slowly we go rural, forest, residential, forest, and then more into commercial and industrial there on the right. I think it's nice to have a bit of a tie-in with the real world, to have it more industrial and commercial on that side. Other than that, we have quite a large section here on the forefront. What to do with it, parking lot, leave it open, empty plot, have an extra industry there, and so on. So if we follow the double track main line in a westbound direction, we're going here straight into the tunnel. There's also a diverging line right here. We're not going to follow that right now because we're just going to follow the main line. So we go up here, and then we come out of the tunnel right here. So not up there with the double track, but down here, underneath the viaduct. And then we come to the paper mill. And when designing an industry like this, it's always a bit of a balance because you do not want to have to go in and out of the tunnel to switch the industry because that doesn't really look that nice. But you also want to have a siding that's long enough so you don't need to foul the main line every time. But yeah, we don't have space for everything, so it's going to be a bit of a balance. So how we just put it, well, yeah, design it here is we have this whole, crossover section where the wood chip cars on this track in a storage track right here can be switched coming from the left. So yeah, you probably will have to foul the main line a little bit for that. It's all part of the fun. And then also here, sorry, the shipping is also here. So these are going to be the longer stacks of cars. And they probably, to be honest, wouldn't fit on a siding anyways. So that's why the decision is made. They're not going to fit on the siding anyways. You got to foul the main line anyways. So we'll just have them really foul the main line. As well, the industries in the other direction. So we have the tank cars for the chemicals, and the covered hoppers will go into the building to load the dry bulk goods there. They can all be switched most likely from this siding right here. You don't need to go onto the main line for that. And that is in a nutshell this entire building facility. In the backdrop, just fill it up with more shipping style warehouses because it is very common for a paper industry to have that. Here's the chip department. Let's say the chips are offloaded here and then with a conveyor placed onto on piles. And we got all the sludge tank processing for the chips to clean them and bleach them and whatnot. I do have a guide that just recently came out, so check my shop regarding the paper industry and how all this would work and how it works in the real life, etc. And many track plans in there, so have a look. Yeah, where were we? We're continuing the main line here on the peninsula. We go into a tunnel. I thought it was important to have a tunnel here and to really block the view of the train, as you can see it all around this section here on around the shelf. I thought, well, we really need to try to block it elsewhere, so let's block it here a bit. And then we come to this section down below. And the mainline continues, is modeled as a diverging track, just to create some interest, and then goes here into the tunnel. So you're actually going to use this track a lot, and it looks like, yeah, the second-hand subdivision of a subdivision that branches off somewhere. On that line, we have here a transfer facility, which could transfer basically anything. Right now, I modeled a tank car that's just being pumped into a truck. You know, we have a little shed to place whatever. And then here is a ready mix cement dealer. So basically, the ready mix arrives by the hoppers right here, covered hoppers, and then pumped into this silo. Trucks drive underneath, etc. And then, yeah, off you go right there. So yes, just to be clear, this track over the river is the one that is the return loop. So I use that occasionally. Do note, I wanted to really have this diverging track diverge somewhere around here and not just after the bridge and then straight into the tunnel, because it's just not, I think, a believable scene where it just, you have like a Y crossing and you just dive straight into the hill. So let it come out, take the time. It has a nice little scene with two bridges, and then you merge somewhere here. So let's follow the track in the tunnel right there. And then we do finally come out here, finally to join the other main line. Here we have a little logging spur that continues off layout. And on the other side of the track, we have a mine, a coal mine, with just the loader only, and the rest of the mine is being modeled in the backdrop right there. Now here I want a really deep cut in the land, and why is that? Again, to block the view, because the train is visible all around from around here, but here we really want to block the view to create the illusion of a longer run. A road here would be interesting scene. A little bushy hilly area here to hide that track that goes down into staging. And this is an interesting scene anyways, because if we look a little bit at the grades, then here we have grade onset, technically the top of the summit, and then the grade really starts to go down here in that direction and down in that direction. And because we're in a curve, we're modeling modern day with long rolling stock, we really took this, I think it's like 5 feet of grade onset. So they have the train from going up the hill, plateauing, flattening, and then going down the hill again. This also means if we go down here that these tracks have to be flat, of course, so we have a little grade onset there as well. So enough about those details. Let's have a little look here on the right, what's underneath the mountain. Nothing too spectacular. There is a crossing here, which is needed to get to certain parts of the yard. And here, let's say we just cross each other, do a loop on the peninsula and cross over again. But if you turn the scenery back on, then it really, I believe, makes it for a believable scene. Here we have double main line going straight into the mountain. Here as well, straight into the mountain. And we have some smaller tunnels right there. Here staging, no real surprises. We already went over everything. I got 5 or 6, was it? 6 tracks in it. I did put some fancy features in here, as I would say. So as this is relatively deep, you see the spacing of the backtracks is more. So it's a little bit easier to get in there if you need to, or to put a train to re-rail it if you need to. And then as you go to the front, the spacing is tighter again. And I added here 1 track as a programming track, because his workbench where he's going to be sitting is exactly right here. So it's nice to have that programming track right there. Now this video continues in part 2, which is available now for YouTube membership, where we go more into the holistic design approach of the general shape of the layout, why we made it like this, and also why the original layout that is there, why that didn't function anymore for this particular client, and what we did to change that. So have a look at that video. Thank you guys all for watching. That's it for today. Bye bye.